This podcast is brought to you by Kempower, the reliable, quick, and scalable EV charging solutions for everyone and everywhere. And StarCharge, the largest EV charging manufacturer in the world, and is also a provider of residential and commercial battery storage. This episode is also made possible by the support we get from Fort Collins Kia. If you are in the market for any electric Kia, not only do they never add market adjustments, they will deliver your car to you anywhere in the 48 contiguous states for out-of-spec viewers. More information in the link in the show notes. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Out of Spec podcast. I'm Francie, and today I have my friend Jordan here. Hey, Jordan, where are you calling in from today?
Well, currently I'm in Spain, in Seville, or Sevilla, as they say here. But we're here to talk about where I was last week, which was Munich, Germany. Just, 1,500 kilometers away. And that is where Audi brought me for some Q6 e-tron things, which is both a buzz and also something no one seems to care about.
Yeah, so we'll get into that a bit. You are traveling a lot, and like you said, you went over to Munich to check out the Audi Q6 e-tron. So we're going to talk about all that today, kind of key features, Jordan's impressions, different aspects of this. Of course, it's an EV, so we'll talk about the charging and all that, and then a little bit about Audi in general and how they're approaching their electric future. So, Jordan, tell me a little bit about getting out there. You were invited by Audi, and then the Audi Q6 e-tron. What were your general impressions overall, big picture?
Yeah, interesting trip. It was to Munich, which was direct from Denver, where I'm located.
That's nice.
So flight super easy, and the easiness continued because the airport hotel was where we were being stationed. And then the Audi center, I don't know exactly what all happens in this Audi facility, but it's on the airport grounds. So like, I didn't have to leave Munich airport. Now, we did later to pop over to the oldest brewery in the world to celebrate some of their journalists' birthdays, which was really cool and special. And it was really awesome of Audi to do that. But yes, we were kind of there to focus on the Q6 e-tron. And it's funny how often in this whole thing, it was a 2-day engineering deep dive, basically, both showing us all the tech underlying the car, PPE, Premium Platform Electric, which we'll get into in a bit, and also the car itself, unveiling the car, taking away all of our phones, our devices, because they were so uptight about security. And it was like funny because it was about this car that like no one really cared that much about, and everyone assumed what it looked like and assumed pretty much correctly. It looks just like the other e-tron SUVs for the most part. So kind of funny how they were overly secretive in that way, but hey, it made filming kind of challenging, but also interesting because they filmed it on a fancy camera. So if you go look at the Q6 e-tron video on Out of Spec Reviews, that's where all this deep dive stuff is as well, including footage on site filmed by a fancy camera, which is way not normal for Out of Spec.
Fancy camera, secretive. Sounds pretty fun. Yeah, this was announced, or, it came out publicly, all the details and stuff on March 18th, but you were there, beforehand. So I guess, yeah, I get it. They're keeping it secret a little bit, but you've said, and I've heard it a little bit here and there, some people are excited. They want to hear about this EV, but you're saying that maybe it's not, why do you think that, why are you saying that you don't think it's been received with like super big excitement?
Yeah, basically everyone's like, oh, another CUV, which on one hand, why are you surprised? Because Audi's the one that's given us Q3, Q4, Q5, Q6, Q7, Q8, just Q everything. In this case, it's Q6, which they kept saying, oh yes, it slots between Q4 and Q8 e-tron, which totally makes sense numerically. And every time we asked a question they couldn't tell us the answer to for some reason, like pricing or some of the exact things that they were still being secretive about, they were like, oh, it'll slot between Q4 and Q8. And we're like, okay, well, that's clear. But I think people should be a bit more excited because of the platform on which this sits. It is sharing a platform, a brand new platform with Macan EV, which is, I'm hoping, a future direction point for Audi, because Q4 e-tron shares the platform with ID4. That's the MEB platform. Q8 e-tron, the big one, is the MLB Evo platform. A bit dated, but still a bit updated here and there. And of course, e-tron GT is the J1 platform that's partnered with the Taycan. So that's a cool sports car focused platform. Also very good, but PPE seems to be kind of the future with all of its technology in terms of good charging and decent efficiency.
Okay, great. Yeah, let's dive into that a little bit. So how does the Audi Q6 e-tron compare to the other EVs that we've gotten our hands on that we've read about in terms of range, performance, and then I mean, you went all the way to Munich, but like also when will this come over to the US? Do you know anything about that? It'll be CCS, I'm guessing, or will it have NACS native?
Yeah, we all asked that first. It's like the elephant in every room, every car is unveiled in. And they were like, it's going to launch with CCS because it's launching the end of this year. And as we probably, hopefully remember, if you did watch our various videos talking about NACS, all the things, it's coming, NACS is coming to Audi like next year, which means like next year for the following model year. It's confusing how cars come out. But no, this will not launch with an ACS, but it will be in America theoretically by the end of this year. And I'm not positive where all they'll be built. I know Audi has some facilities over stateside, but they made a big deal about how many things on this platform, this vehicle, were built in Ingolstadt, which is Audi capital in Germany, about, I don't know, an hour north of Munich or so, which is pretty cool. That's some of their sustainability things that they talk about. It's like, oh, we're doing a lot of things in-house. So how it compares to the other ones, it really is slotting between them, but with the better charging. And even in the marketplace, people are like, well, where does this fit? Like, does it have room in this huge growing segment of CUVs electrically that we have? And I think it kind of does. They directly said, oh, our competitor is Model Y and iX3. So they're literally aiming right at Tesla with this thing, and maybe can in some ways. I mean, peak charging at 270 kilowatts, that's pretty good. Great charging curve. I mean, it's very Taycan-esque, at least first Taycan. Now the new Taycan, which is why I'm in Spain, by the way, is crazy good. So this is not to that level, but this is still to a really good level. Range is not mind-blowing. They haven't announced EPA numbers yet, but aiming for 300 miles, which is not class leading in any way. But there could be some other specs that are a bit more efficiency focused, which will be over 300 miles, but we're still not looking at high 300s by any means.
Okay, interesting. All right, they're very clear about who they're competing with. I don't know who isn't competing with the Model Y, though, with those numbers, right? Everyone's competing against Tesla. So it's just like, where do you fall really like in the use case stuff? Yeah.
We were all the journalists were joking about how we should just title our articles and our videos Tesla Killer, because, you know, who hasn't done that yet? But no, just it felt fairly different. But honestly, I don't know why I would buy, you know, in my video I talked about, I don't know why I would buy Q8 e-tron or Q4 e-tron over this. Q8 e-tron is bigger, but still not 3-row. So you're just getting a tiny bit more storage space. And it's an older platform, not as good charging, not as good efficiency. Yeah, I guess if you want massaging seats, get the Q8 e-tron. Otherwise, get the Q6 e-tron. It looks better, I think, just marginally. And they even have like blacked out components, almost as if they saw out Alyssa's e-tron. They were like, yes, we need to do that from the factory.
Nice. Okay, so what is really significant here, right, is that it's built on a different platform. So can we focus on that a little bit? The PPE, Premium Platform Electric, which is not their only platform, as you had mentioned, right? So what do you think about them having so many different platforms? And two, what stood out about this PPE that they say enables them to launch high volume, technologically advanced models in various segments and thus further electrify their portfolio?
Yeah, I think, first of all, they have 4 current platforms with a 5th one in the plans. SSP platform will come later, which is just crazy. That's 5 electric platforms, by the way. They also have PPC coming later this year, Premium Platform Combustion. So they're not leaving the combustion folks out to dry. But PPE, they focused heavily on its state-of-the-art capabilities. It's using prismatic battery cells. And so in this case, the Audi Q6 e-tron, I believe was like 100 kilowatt hours. Yes, gross, with 94.4 kilowatt hours usable. So not a huge buffer, decent size battery, which is why you get decent range. I mean, it is like a fairly heavy, bulky car. So that's actually decent range for the battery size. And they also brought the weight down a little bit. It's 800 volt architecture, which is why it has the really impressive charging speeds. And it can do the whole split pack thing, so it can charge at 400 volt capabilities as well. But yeah, lithium ion, the typical cobalt, manganese, nickel, whatever, the 8:1 ratio, all the same stuff as Macan EV, which is good. So I think this is probably the future of Audi's kind of electric. They wouldn't confirm or deny that, but like all the ways they were sharing this, it makes sense. And the whole aspect of this being a bit modular, the Q6 e-tron in this case has 12 battery cells, each with 15 battery pieces, I guess, however you call that. So it's 12 cells, more or less. And then you can scale it down. They actually have a smaller battery Europe will get, which is just the 2 middle cells removed. We won't have that in the US. We will just have the 1 battery. But then you could possibly add more cells, or maybe rotate them sideways or something, to squeeze in maybe a bigger battery for a bigger future vehicle. So they definitely left that in mind of, well, we can just add or remove cells as needed for different vehicles. Maybe we'll see a smaller sports car with 8 of these modules instead of 12, so because it's lighter weight. But all in, it's a decent. They made the point. They really made this point that they had 5 kilowatt hours more than the original big e-tron battery, and like I don't know how many 100 kilograms less or something like that. So more battery density, less weight equals good.
Yeah, right. Yeah, energy density. That's what it's all about. More energy in a smaller space. And EVs are all about efficiency too. So cutting down weight wherever you can. Okay, so it seems like they are kind of experimenting with these different platforms. And we see automakers doing this, but typically it's 1 or 2, or it's just one platform that they're building all of their electric stuff on. Do you think that this approach is experimentational and that they will whittle it down to the best approaches, or do you think they're going to keep a wide portfolio like this for a while?
I don't know. I hope they do narrow it down a bit, but I don't know what they would do exactly. I mean, I think the MLB Evo platform may just die, but I'm not sure. Like they're leaving it kind of open intentionally, maybe, or maybe it's accidentally, but the marketing team would obviously say it's intentional. But the Audi seems the most slightly confused on where they're going. They have good stuff. Like actually, their EVs are solid. But yeah, you're right. The Q4 e-tron is shared with the MEB platform, which is shared with Volkswagen, which of course is the parent company of Audi. So that kind of makes sense. And they're in bed together with Porsche for the J1 platform. So that kind of makes sense. They're all kind of Volkswagen group stuff. So I don't know whether we blame Audi or we blame Volkswagen for being kind of all over the place. Volkswagen themselves seem to be just MEB all the things. But I don't know. Audi seems to be going various directions. And even with the styling of this car, which is also a bit controversial, all the e-trons have this huge normal grille. Now it is blocked out for aerodynamics, but it's like that's not very quote unquote future looking. It's like they're trying to ease their customer base into electrification slower than anyone else. They're like, oh, don't worry, our car's not that different. We still have the grille, we still have the traditional door handles, not the like weird poppy out ones. Although they might be looking at that in the future too. So they're not really pushing the bar on some things, but then the asterisk on that statement is the LEDs, the DRLs of this Audi and the taillights are state of the art. And honestly, the coolest thing about it, like that was my favorite thing to report on, was
really
the signature DRLs, which is how you literally pick your quote unquote front fingerprint of the car. Like, how's it going to look down the road? There's 8 different options, which is like wild. Effectively the headlight, or I guess the headlights are the matrix, normal stuff, but there's kind of an OLED screen of 60 elements or so on the front headlights and like 360 elements on the rear. I guess, yeah, the whole rear is 360, the whole front's 122. And you can kind of pick different options of which bulbs are illuminated to show what the lights are. It's fascinating stuff. Of course, some of the really cool tech we won't get in the States because of our ancient safety standards that they literally said, hey, all this cool functionality is going to come to everyone except for one country. And all the US journalists were like,
Bummer. Yeah, there are differences in that way where automakers have to specifically choose different aspects that I wonder how quickly that will change too with this many different types of vehicles on the road with EVs, because it's just going to change the logistics of why this regulation is in place. Is there going to be like a whole segment that's just EV focused? Or yeah, it's interesting. And it also makes me think of, okay, these are like imported for the most part, right? And Audi, every EV automaker does have something to say about sustainability, but something that, of course, I've seen, I think globally, is that let's take our operations, whatever they are, our supply chain, and vertically integrate it all within our own local region, local country, bring things into their borders to create kind of a closed loop. So I know that Audi talked about that in terms of their production of their Audi Q6 e-tron here, having it all at home. Is there anything else that they focused on specifically with sustainability?
Not a ton to the journalist, but I think I need to read more of the press materials that they sent to the world, because I would have expected them to focus on that. But I guess technically the reason I was there was more of the engineering thing. So it wasn't really their sustainability or even marketing people so much as it was the actual engineers who built the car, which on one hand, it's really cool that we can talk to them and pick their brain and figure out why they made certain decisions and such. But
yeah,
the sustainability factor wasn't pushed very, very strongly at the event.
Okay.
But it is, I know it's always something they're thinking about. So I don't know where they're at with like, oh, how many buildings do we have that's net zero? I don't know how they're, the giant Audi headquarters in Ingolstadt, I don't know how quote unquote sustainable that is. Apple's all like, oh, our headquarters is like carbon neutral, but I don't know about all the different auto manufacturers.
It's harder.
Yeah, and it's a whole other topics of like, well, what's the public perception versus what's the manufacturers? What are they pushing? Like, how do people feel about how sustainable they are? So at least they're doing stuff. I mean, they have a lot more foot in the game in electrification than say like Honda. They've been doing it for a while. 5 years ago, we had Audi electric vehicles. So props to them for pushing the bar a little bit. But now it kind of feels like they still are pushing the bar a bit with PPE, but I'm still a bit confused about the future of what they're working on. We just saw Taycan facelift come out, which is the sister car to the Audi e-tron GT. So that car facelift will come out later this year, which I'm really hoping I can cover as well.
Yeah.
Because I think they're doing some cool stuff. Software we can touch on just really quick is, over-the-air updates, and people like that. Although it is still the partnership stuff with Volkswagen, like Cariad, and so it's like, well, how much of that's going to be good or bad? It seems pretty fine. The screens are nice. They're OLED except for the passenger display, which all new passenger display for Audi, which is cool. And driver assistance should be good. We couldn't really test it. The first drive event will come later this year. So that's when we can probably do more of our typical out of spec testing. But just surface level things, it seems pretty positive. The cockpit looks nice. Good material choices. Like, it feels premium, which again is like, I don't know why you'd buy a Q8 over this unless you want the massaging seats. Because why don't they have massaging seats in this? If the ID4 has massaging seats, the Q4 doesn't, which shares the same platform, and then this doesn't. They're really trying hard to like separate their quote unquote premium customer from the slightly lower down one. So
slightly, I feel like this is a premium offer though, no matter what you're getting from Audi. Like, they're not going after
but it's cool.
Parts.
The heads-up display is really impressive. They're going to have augmented reality stuff. The software is kind of all newly built on top of an Android stack, so there's a lot more capability with even like third-party app providers making things for your Audi, which is cool. So a lot of potential. Let's just see how much of it is really tapped into.
Okay, I'd be interested to see what our audience thinks about Audi's approach here. Is it kind of how I kind of see it, maybe just experimenting with all these different platforms. They have the means to do so. Will they whittle it down? Not so sure. Are you confused like Jordan? Let us know what you think. So yeah, it seems like the tech involved, the connectivity, also just the new platform. It doesn't seem like you were let down. It seems like it's a pretty good offering, right?
Yeah.
But we still don't know the price point, or do we?
They've mentioned the Europe pricing, I think, but not so much the US, but we can basically conjecture that it'll be between Q4 and Q8. That's just their official response. As of now, I mean, stuff is slowly, gradually rolling out for this car. But I'm guessing, well, not guessing, I know for sure it'll be more expensive than Model Y. So if they're going after Model Y customers, what are they bringing to the table that's going to make the Model Y customer, quote unquote, upgrade in price to this?
Because it's not it's not J3400, the North American charging standard yet, right? This will come out CCS, which, I'm sure they'll get an adapter and everything, and maybe that won't matter. But it'd be interesting to know how much people are considering that in their next EV, or there's going to be enough CCS chargers around for a good bit, and there's going to be adapters. You're fine buying a nice, but still CCS equipped vehicle. Pretty interesting. Yeah. Let us know. Jordan and I were talking, there's a lot to cover with this in a podcast. So what aspects specifically would you all be interested in either hearing more about or, a deeper dive? Jordan, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think this is a good introductory podcast basically, but we can go into so many other things. I mean, they probably could do a whole podcast on just their software strategy, a whole podcast on, just their platforms, like breaking down all the different platforms and what we think could be good or bad, or we can kind of deduce the future on our own without their official, response or plan. But there's so many things to cover, which is why I think it's great that we have this show, because we can just throw everything out there and hopefully you all can kind of let us know what you think. Give us some feedback. Let us know if you have questions, if there's things we've missed. Definitely check out my video on Out of Spec reviews, but even in that, I probably missed things. It was a chaotic place to film, and there was fleeting moments where I was allowed to film, so I just hodgepodged it together. But hopefully that also has some more information. But regardless, we can keep going down this rabbit hole because Audi is, so we'll just follow them.
Perfect. Yeah, I think people should definitely go check out the in-depth video. It's kind of fun that you had to hodgepodge things together, though that is a talent of yours. You are a great video editor, so you can really tell when Jordan's behind the editing, I think.
The comments always mention it. They're like, where's Kyle? But also, this music's nice.
Yeah, this is a whole storytelling here. We all just have our fun, different styles, which I like, and we're able to do them with Out of Spec. So yeah, everything that Jordan said, let us know what you're curious about. We're happy to do deep dives into these platforms. It would also be cool, all these different automakers are coming up with their own electric platforms. I hear modular a lot, let's be able to fit these two things, four things, whatever, together to have more versatility in our offerings. The surface level sounds great. And is it scalable? Is it really what's going to work? I think it's such a curious, interesting topic of conversation. So Jordan, you're in Spain. How fun. I was trying to think of some Spanish, but I immediately went to French for some reason. Très magnifique.
Oui, bon ami.
Even though I practice Spanish every day. But yeah, so how long are you going to be there? What are you going to be doing? Can you tell me?
Yeah, only here for 2 days. I'm here for the Porsche Taycan GT. So maybe throw in the comments if you want to know anything about that, because I should definitely do an episode with Francie on that right after this while it's still fresh in my head.
Yes.
We'll be driving the facelift Taycans to a racetrack, and that's where we'll be actually driving the Turbo GT with Weissach package, which is just a super spicy one. It just broke records at Laguna Seca and the Nürburgring. It's like Porsche and Tesla Model S. They have this neck and neck race, and it's kind of hilarious, honestly. But it's cool. It means both companies are pushing the bar, so it should be fun to cover that and see. I'm curious to see how it is. I love Taycan so much, so happy to be here. And
good.
Kyle's back
Yeah.
playing with his truck. He's just like a kid in a sandbox with a toy truck.
He is, with his little dump truck taking it around. Yeah, we'd love to see those trucks really put to work. Yeah, and then of course, we had our road trip with the VinFast. So you're raising your bar with all these Porsches and Audis, and then our next VF8 road trip is just going to meet you right up there.
Yep.
Good. Yes. Can't wait for that. Okay, Jordan, have fun in Spain. Can't wait to hear about what you learn and what you see, and to talk to you again soon. Everyone, thank you for tuning in with us today to hear more about the Audi Q6 e-tron. What do you think? Let us know. We will see you next time on the next electric episode of the Out of Spec podcast. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.